Just gone 11:30 this Monday morning. Jim White on talkSPORT in the great company this morning of Dean Ashton and Harry Redknapp. Now, last week we were somewhat shocked on this show because Birmingham City came out of nowhere, sacked manager Gary Rowett after more than 2 years in charge of the Championship club. Now, Birmingham 7th in the table, going along well. And Rowett was sacked after the 2-1 win over Ipswich Town. Gary won 42 of his 106 games as manager at St Andrews. That wasn't the whole story, though, because then we heard the story was developing all the time, that Gianfranco Zola was on his way to Birmingham, if indeed he wasn't there already. And then later on that afternoon, we found out that Zola was the new man in charge. And Gary Rowett departed, along with assistant boss Kevin Summerfield and coaches Kevin Poole, Darren Robinson and Mark Sale. So it was all over because the new Chinese owners, Trillion Trophy Asia Limited, decided that change was needed and Gary was gone. Since then, well, a lot of sympathy and a lot of love from Birmingham City fans directed in the direction of Gary Rowett. And Gary hasn't spoken much about it, but he joins us live this Monday morning. Gary, good morning.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Morning, Gary. Good. Harry's with me, and alongside Harry, Dean Ashton. Gary, we won't get into the specifics of it, but I take it you were somewhat shocked when you were given this news, Gary.
Yes, yeah, I was. Obviously, we'd won the previous evening against Ipswich, and I was due to go into the ground a little bit later. We had an FA Youth Cup game, but I got a call just saying I needed to go to a meeting, and obviously got the news there and then. Which in some ways, you know, I was quite pleased it worked out that way because it allowed me then to go and speak to the staff, which the club allowed me to do, because I wanted to go and speak to the staff and speak to the players, and then to hear it from me, really, because I thought that was the right and the dignified way to do it, because of course those people had worked so hard for me. So yeah, that's what happened. And the club have chose to go down a different route, which is their prerogative. You know, that's what happens if you buy a football club. You can choose to do whatever you want, really. I've got no complaints about that.
Gary, you got the news, you got a call. Was it a phone call or were you told face to face?
No, I was told face to face, in all fairness, but I got a call to say that I needed to go to a meeting at the ground at 11:30, and I actually had a meeting in Derby at 11 o'clock, and I said, look, I've got a really important meeting, can I not come in later? And they were quite adamant. I didn't really twig at that point. But no, in all fairness, the club told me face to face with people that I'd worked with, had a really good relationship with for over 2 years. So, like I said, I've got no complaints out how it happens. You know, that's life, and that's how it works out. And sometimes, you know, when one door shuts, another one opens.
I was talking to Harry before we came on air, Gary, about it, and we were both agreed it's what you do now that's very, very important, isn't it? And it's my understanding you're a popular figure in the game, and you were doing well at Birmingham. So I'm not surprised that you've had offers since you left the club, haven't you?
Yeah, got a couple of phone calls the next morning, which was really nice. And I think the big thing for me, really, I think there's a couple of things. One is the amount of support I've had from other managers and other people in the game, which I think is amazing. You know, when you're in the game trying to just get results and you're in the sort of hurly-burly of that pressure, to come out of it and to have so many good people ring me up and, you know, see how I am, which I think that's brilliant. And for me, that's what football's about, and doesn't get enough credit in that sense. And the second thing is when you're working day in, day out, you know, I've been doing it now, sort of managing for about 5 or 6 years with Burton included, and you don't really get a chance to review and really sort of step back and evaluate some of the things you've done, evaluate some of the things you perhaps think you need to do better or can improve on, and I'm looking forward to the next sort of week or so to be able to do that. Maybe not on Christmas Day. I might have to spend that with the family.
No, that's good. That's a great way of doing it. Period. But Gary, that is a great. I mean, all credit to you. You're facing it head on, and you're taking the positives out of it. You know, when you hear the way Gary's talking, Harry, it is a fantastic way to look at it, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, you know, for Gary, I can imagine they're beating Ipswich. They're going fantastic. They're just off the playoffs. He goes on that night, having won that game on a high. Next day you get a phone call, they want to see you at the ground. The last thing on his mind, I mean, it genuinely, it was such a shock when I heard it. I thought, well, that's a strange one. You know, he's left Birmingham. He must be going you know, I'm looking around what other maybe bigger jobs were available, because I think he's got something else. Something has happened there, you know. But to actually lose his job on the back of the job he's done is just incredible, really. And it's only a matter of time now for Gary before, you know, he's built himself a great reputation, I think. And it's only a matter of time before he sits. But what he doesn't want to do, in my opinion, he doesn't want to dive into something that he's got to weigh everything up, because there will be lots and lots of clubs going to be looking at him in whether it's in next week, next month. You know, I might wait until the right job comes along, because he will get the right job.
So, Gary, you prepared to be patient, as Harry says. Is that key now to what you do next?
Well, I think it is. I mean, I had one job offer yesterday from a mate of mine who runs a construction business. I said my hat goes off to him, but I don't really fancy getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning and doing the skivvy job. So I had to politely decline that one. No, I think for me it's about, you know, I've already had a couple of offers of going in and watching some sort of, you know, Premier League managers work, and a couple of opportunities abroad to go and see how one or two clubs work. And for me, I'm a big learner. That's how I sort of took the job of management on, that I always wanted to improve and learn new things, not just from in football, but from outside of football, how management works in different companies. So I'm going to try and really use the time effectively to try and be better, you know, and try to learn new things, because, like I said, sometimes when you're in the hustle and bustle of just trying to win games and the hassle that comes with some of that day-to-day running, you don't get an opportunity to do those things. So yeah, really, really looking forward to what the next few weeks and months brings. And of course, spending a bit of time with the family at Christmas, my first Christmas off for God knows how long. So I'm going to take that opportunity as well.
Gary, I'm just going to let Dean in a second, but just on when you were actually told, were you told at the same time we're actually bringing in Gianfranco Zola?
No, I wasn't. No, and again, really, that's none of my sort of, you know, that's none of my issue, really. So, no, I wasn't. I didn't ask that question either. And again, you know, from my point of view, listen, I've got, you know, I've had an unbelievable time at Birmingham. You know, the fans, the staff, the players were absolute. I couldn't ask for anything more from 2 years in a job, really. So, like I said, whatever route they go down, you know, I wish them all the best. I've got no sour grapes about it at all. But no, certainly wasn't told that someone else was coming. I was a little bit surprised to hear that sort of announcement, you know, so soon afterwards. But again, that's not really my issue.
Gary, I mean, you sound very, very positive, and I think that's fair play to yourself. Because, you know, you must have been angry and upset with what happened. Does this? I mean, a lot of young managers will be looking at the same. Is this kind of the stark reality now of being a manager, especially in that league? And does that now sort of change possibly the way you think going into a new job?
No, I don't think so, Dean. I think I would look at every job with the same thing. When I went in at Birmingham, the same motives that I had when I went in at Burton was, and I said to the staff, we're going to enjoy it. We're going to have fun every day. We want people and the players. I said to the staff and the players, I want you to drive to work, and I want you to be looking forward to what's ahead of you in the day. And that's, for me, that's what it's about. It's, you know, that's part of the process. And so I won't feel any differently about it. I think there's certain things you can control, which are what you do yourself and the staff. The things you can't control are these types of decisions. So I certainly won't sit at home worrying if you're a manager that you're going to get the sack the next day. I don't think that's anything to be concerned about. My issue is just trying to be the best manager that I can be and continually keep improving. So I won't change my attitude. I won't change any way that I think in the next job. I just see the next one as another exciting opportunity ahead, but I don't know what it is yet, you know, and that's probably what makes it quite so interesting.
I'm just looking at social media here, Gary. Not surprisingly, a lot of support for you this morning. This is Darren Halford. Listening to Gary Rowett on talkSPORT. What a top bloke. Thanks for the last 2 years. You had a lot of Birmingham fans onto you, thanking you for what you've done.
Yes, yeah, I mean, I don't do social media. That's one of the stances that I've always had. Nothing to do with management, just you know, it's not really for me. But I really appreciate all those messages. I think the one thing, and, you know, I can say this hand on heart, is that I had a really special bond with the Birmingham fans. You know, I had amazing experiences, some amazing games. You know, we had some brilliant away days, and the Blues fans follow their team amazingly. I can remember 4,000 down at Craven Cottage when we won 5-2. 3,000 or 4,000 at Derby when we scored 2 goals in the 92nd and the 93rd minute, and then won 3-0 the next season. So some brilliant days. But and I said this after my first home game in charge when we beat Watford. I said if that was the only game I ever managed, it would have been worth it at Birmingham to see the fans. And that wasn't me just being, talking rubbish and trying to get myself on side. It was genuine, So,
yes.
Brilliant experience. I'd like to wholeheartedly thank every single one of them.
Well, I mean, they're coming on to us in numbers. Mike Egan, I'm listening to Gary this morning, shows what a top-class bloke he is. So glad he's speaking to you in talkSPORT. Here's another one. Mr. Singh from Birmingham. Absolutely gutted Gary is gone. Great manager, one of the fans, legendary guy, always got a special place with Blues fans. And then I'm just seeing one that's what made me stutter. Dan Pink, who says, just tell him I love him. So there you go. As I said to you, Gary, there's a lot of love out there for you. Gary, would you be prepared if an offer came along from a Premier League club? And I know it's a crazy question. I'm presuming the answer is yes, you would take it. You feel equipped that you could manage in the Premier League at the moment?
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, I've been coaching since I finished playing at Charlton when I was 30, and a month later I was coaching the under-14s at Derby. So I've spent 12 years coaching different levels of teams, working with players, dealing with players. And for me, that's what it's about. I spoke to many a top manager in my time and many a top player. And for me, the difference is not necessarily in the tactical detail. Of course, most of the top guys have all of that anyway. But it's how you treat people. And I'm a big believer in that. It's how you treat people, and it's how you try to get into the heads of players, which someone like Harry was an absolute master at. So. For me, yeah, of course, I'd feel ready for any job, really. And as I said, whichever offer it is. But if it's Premier League, if it's, League Two, it wouldn't matter to me. It's just down to which I think would be the most exciting opportunity for me.
Yeah.
Gary, do you know something? Sorry, Harry, on you go.
No, it's no problem for him managing in the Premier League. It's not. It's the same. He's got that. He's got the ability to do that. There's no doubt about that. But as we were saying earlier, I just think you've got to be careful now. Make sure that the offers are going to come because, say, it's not just Birmingham. I mean, the job he did at Burton before that. So people are looking at Gary as one of, one. I know, the chairman at Derby before he appointed Nigel Pearson. I know Gary was well on his, he spoke so highly of him, but he was sort of entrenched a bit at Birmingham at the time then. So the clubs are going to come, the offers are going to come. Just be patient and make sure it's a club where you've got real possibilities and that you can work with the chairman and you're all singing off the same hymn sheet, really.
Yeah, Gary, a bit of advice from Mr. Redknapp.
Brilliant. Thanks, Harry.
Cheers, Gary. I wish you all the best, mate. It's only a matter of time before you're back in, that's for sure.
Gary,
Cheers.
Thank you so much, Gary, for joining us. And I knew you would do yourself no harm whatsoever by coming on with us. And I'm glad you took my invitation. So thank you so much for joining us, Gary.
Appreciate it, guys. Pleasure.